Welcome back to Cold Steel Auto Diagnostics. Still working on this 2002 Dodge Dakota Sport. Customer complaint is it's getting a little warm in the cab. It's AC season. This is North Carolina. It's about 88 degrees today, 52% humidity. We're going to go ahead and see if we can verify the customer complaint just by putting a regular old thermometer in there. Before we even hook the gauges to it, let's go ahead and get the temperature reading and make sure the compressor's turning on. Alright, so we're up over 100 degrees inside of here. I'm sweating pretty good already. So let's go ahead. We'll test all of them, but I usually start right here. Right by the shifter, because that's where you want to be comfortable. So let's get a base reading without turning on the AC. So we're just moving 100-degree air all around. Let's go ahead and turn on the AC. And we'll see if it has a drop at all. Let's go ahead and check out and see if the compressor's running. Yeah, so the compressor's spinning. This thing's nice because the compressor's right on top. So let's go ahead and turn that off and make sure that the clutch disengages. It turns off the AC. Alright, so the clutch does disengage. So we'll turn it back on and then give it a little bit and see if it drops down in temperature. Alright, so this thing's about 40 degrees over temperature. Now it might get down to temperature when you're actually driving it because you got the cool air rushing past the condenser coil. But this is no bueno for just sitting. Let's go ahead and increase the RPMs. Let's get it to about 2 grand or close to it and see what it does. See if it drops down. So even that, we're not even dropping to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have an issue for sure. So it's been going long enough. This thing should have dropped down. Now it does feel good, right? It's 20 degrees, 26 degrees cooler than it is outside. So it's gonna feel like you have AC, but it's not efficient AC. So let's go ahead and get the manifolds gauge set up and see where our pressures are. Okay, so I noticed one thing right off the bat. There's no cap for the low pressure side, only for the high pressure side. Okay, so the first thing we want to check is to make sure we're running about the same pressure. So 81, 82 on the low side and on the high side. I got R134A selected for this refrigerant. And you can just, the superheat, subcooling, all that, you could just negate that. And the temperatures. See, it's 89 degrees outside. I have that right there on the dry bulb. Our low side is about 17.5 psi, and our high side is going to be 140. Definitely not enough refrigerant in this thing. We should be around 35 to 40 psi, all the way up to 45 for the temperature, and about 220 to maybe 250 on the high side. So we are going to be low on refrigerant. We're going to be using these refrigerant with the self-sealing valve. so that you could take the tops off of these, and it requires a special fitting that just pushes down. It'll push down that red piece in there and allow the refrigerant to come out. So what we're gonna do, make sure that core is all the way down. Put the can on. Should really have gloves and eye protection on. But we're gonna make sure the high side and the low side is closed. And then we're just gonna push this down. We're going to open this up to the service valve, and then we'll crack this real quick and let all the air, the little air from here to here, out of there. Okay, so we got the mist, so we got all of our air out of there now. Now we can turn on the system. I brought hot water out. We're going to use the hot water to heat up the can. It's going to heat up the can and allow us to get all the vapor out of there. That way we don't send, I don't want to send liquid refrigerant to our compressor. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open the service port here. Make sure the high and low are closed. Open the service port. And then we're just going to charge through the low side only, never through the high side. And we're just going to charge like this. This is vapor, this is liquid. So let's go ahead and just open the low side. The can's getting really cold. Close that up. See how we're doing. Give it a couple minutes. All I did was put really hot water in this, and I'm just floating it in the water to increase the pressure in the can. Increase the temperature, increases the pressure, so we can empty this can. So this can is empty now. So I'm going to go ahead and close this low side. And let's let it stabilize out. I'm going to go ahead and close this off so we can change out the can. Back this all the way off. That way we could safely take this can off. Finish that one can. We're still not up to pressure on the low or the high side, but let's see how we're doing cooling wise. Oh, it's already a lot cooler. So we're under, we're about 50 something degrees now. So it even feels a lot cooler. So let's keep going. Let's get this thing right in the green zone. Just so we see a mist. That'll be the refrigerant. Okay, so we're good now. So now this is open, that's been purged. So there's no air getting in the system. We're gonna open back up the service valve. And we're just gonna fill vapor. And then if we had to, we'll put it in the warm water. So we're just gonna open up that. Service port. Sometimes I just shake the can back and forth. I'm gonna go ahead and close this, just do it little by little. We need to get to about 35 PSI, at least 35 to 40 in about 220 to 250, maybe 200 to 250 on the high side. Let's go ahead and charge again. As you can see, the can's just sitting in the hot water bath. Increase the temperature of the can, increases the pressure, and it'll get the refrigerant out of the can. See, you can see it coming out. See the refrigerant going in. So let's go ahead and let that stabilize out. This system takes almost 2 pounds. So we were really low. So I'm pretty sure everything's out of this can too. Let's go ahead and close this. See what we're getting down to on the inside. So while we're driving, we're gonna be below, we're gonna be real close to that magic number where it's real cold. So we just gotta get a little more refrigerant in this thing. Alright, so I've added enough refrigerant now. See how this is just about 40 psi on the low, and this isn't even close. It's about 40 psi, almost 60 psi short on the high side. So that's going to be the real issue. This compressor is not capable of making the high pressures needed anymore. I've let this run plenty long enough. So even at 85 degrees, we should be anywhere from 30 to 40 psi and about 200 to 220. So our issue, our low side is normal. Our high side we can't create enough pressure. So it's looking like this compressor is getting weak. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this system off, and let's see how fast this stabilizes. That way we know there's not a blockage in the evaporator core, the orifice tube, or the condenser. Help if I kept the high side open, my bad. See, I closed the high side port. Alright, so we don't have a blockage. You see how it's resetting? Actually pretty quick. So no blockage. Looks like we're gonna need a compressor. It's capable of drawing back, but it's not capable of compressing. It's not capable of compressing the liquid refrigerant to the desired temperature for R134A. For the temperature and humidity is outside, we should be up around 200 to 220 psi on the high side. So we're normal on the low side. We just can't create that. See, we should be right around 450 degrees, and we're not capable of that because I didn't write down the psi, but I think we were at 40, and this was like 179. We're about 20, almost 30 psi too short on the high side. So it needs a compressor for it to run efficiently. Yeah, I mean, it's going to run. And we're getting real cold on our lines. But at this point, it definitely will need a compressor if she wants it to be super efficient. That, and there's no way it's going to be 3 cans low if there isn't a heck of a leak someplace.